Hi, this is Brad Linder with Computing, and I wanted to take a quick look today at the Opera Mini web browser, which is just added to the iPhone App Store. This is a third-party web browser, something that we haven't really seen much of before because Apple has a web browser, the Safari web browser, which is based on WebKit, and generally its rules for apps getting approved into the App Store state that you shouldn't duplicate the functionality of core applications. Opera says that this gets around it because it uses server-side compression, so it's not using the WebKit JavaScript rendering engine. It's actually rendering the stuff remotely, sending it to your phone to speed up page load speeds. I really like the interface. It's very similar to Opera Mini for other platforms. I've tested the Windows Mobile version a while back. It doesn't seem as fast as it should. It could be a problem with my wireless connection, but overall I was expecting better speed. So let's take a quick look at some of the features. First off, turn that off. Okay. So first thing you see when you open the browser is going to be the start page here, which gives you 9 little squares that you can use for personalized recommendations. By default, you'll get My Opera, Facebook, Twitter, New York Times, and I think AccuWeather. You can add or remove by tapping and holding, and you can click Clear to take away. If you never use Twitter, you can make it go away. You can click Edit to change it to something else. Or if you just want to add one to Space, you can hit the plus button and either enter a URL or use something from your history, your recent history. And so that's how you add something new. In terms of web pages, you just tap it and it'll load the page. And I don't know how well you can see here, but basically it gives you a full page view, but it zooms to such a level that you really can't see any of the text, and it almost doesn't even try to show you the text. It's almost like you're looking at lines instead of text. Double tap, you zoom in. Double tap again, and you zoom out. You can also use the multi-touch pinch to zoom feature. Now, one thing is that you don't have a lot of control over the zoom level. Basically, there's zoomed in and zoomed out, and that's it. You can't do fine-tuning there. And in landscape mode, it still doesn't take up the whole screen, even when you're in full screen. When you zoom in, of course, you can do some scrolling. You can look in landscape mode or portrait mode. You'll notice that unlike some mobile web browsers, you sort of permanently have the URL bar, the search bar, and the tools down at the bottom. You can change that by going into the settings and choosing full screen. And now you'll only see the URL bar when it's at the top, and the information bar at the bottom sort of minimizes into this. Bring up the menu there, make it go away, and you've got your zoom button and your back button there. One thing I really like is the way that Opera Mini handles browser tabs. So let's go ahead and open up Computing's webpage here. And then I'm going to hit the tab button to open up a new tab. Let's say Lilliputiting. Now if I want to toggle back and forth between them, you'll see in the tab bar I've actually got both tabs here, plus I can open a third tab. Okay, so now we've got the New York Times, Lilliputiting, and Computing. In the tab bar you can see that we've actually got icons for all three, and I can switch back and forth between them seamlessly. They sort of rearrange on the tab bar here, and if I want to open a fourth page, I can do that too. There are still some quirks. For example, in the Gmail application, it doesn't use the sort of sexy mobile version of Gmail that I've come to know and love for the iPhone and Google Android and other platforms. You've got sort of this very stripped down version of Gmail Mobile. As I mentioned, you don't have a lot of control over the zoom feature. But you know, in general, it's a pretty nice alternative web browser to Safari. You know, for some web pages, you might find that it really does load things faster because it's compressing the images and other data remotely, which means that your phone doesn't actually have to work as hard to render data. It's probably not going to make a huge difference if you have an iPod Touch or if you have an iPhone 3GS. If you're using a first-generation iPhone with a 2G network, though, having less data sent to you means less bandwidth used, means pages are probably going to load faster. So there you go. That's the first look at Opera Mini for the iPhone and iPod Touch. It's available now as a free download from the iPhone App Store. This is Brad Linder for Mobifuting. You know, I almost forgot. There's actually a couple of other features I wanted to show you. You've got a bookmark page. So if you have more than 9 items that you don't want to put on the Start menu, you can do that. There's history you can scroll through. We've got saved pages, so you can save them for viewing later. Start page just takes you to the start page. There's a find in page search feature, which is nice. And under settings, you can turn off images. You can change the image quality from high to medium to low. You can adjust the font size, small, medium, and large. There's a mobile view setting, full screen, which we already looked at. Opera Link, which I'll tell you about in a second. Privacy, you can remember passwords and accept cookies or not. You can clear your history, clear your passwords, clear your cookies. And under Advanced, you've got your start page links on or off. You can do HTTP or socket protocols. And that's about it for the settings. Opera Link is an interesting service that lets you actually synchronize your bookmarks and settings and other data with a web-based Opera server, which means that if you use Opera Browser for the desktop or Opera Browser for other mobile platforms, you can actually synchronize your data across those platforms. So that's a pretty neat feature. So there you go. That's the first look at Opera Mobile or Opera Mini for the iPhone and iPod Touch. This is Brad Linder for Mobifuting.